Just one more series before we get to the grand finals, and it's going to be ABC up against Method, and Method already has in
the blind lock, and I'm pretty sure ABC knows that this is what we need to beat as well. So we might see a Rogue Alley come out of them. We might see something else. I'm not entirely sure, but Method Black could also go for the Mage Alley, and then at worst, they would probably just play a mirror where they probably have a good chance as well to win.
Did you get cold?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, it's chilly.
A little cold in here.
Yeah, you look good.
Thank you.
Sid, what do you think about this matchup?
Looks better than you tied it, and I'm not.
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it, but Zico, I guess, just
Where's your hat, Sid?
Where's my hat?
Where's your hat?
What's going on this
Dog
desk?
ate it.
Okay, let's talk about this series. You look great.
Oh, thank you.
Sid, what do you think of the series?
Wow, I just get serious, Rich. It's like you went from good cop to bad cop instantly there, just in 1 millisecond. You just really want to know about the series.
What do you think about the series?
Do you really want to know what I think about the series?
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Okay, then, what do I think about the series? Well, I think ABC are in a slump, and they've never been able to beat Method Black in the past, and I don't think enough has changed that they'll be able to do it unless they have something really surprising up their sleeves, but I think Method Black stomp them.
All right, but here's the thing. You talk about this slump. This seems to be the tournament where they've broken this slump. Is Sid completely wrong?
I don't know if he's completely wrong. I think historically what he's saying is accurate, but ABC in this tournament, they put on a good performance. I think against the Pumpers, they did well. Losing 2-3 against the team that I think could potentially win the entire thing isn't bad. They also managed to take down Wildcard Gaming earlier in the tournament, so ABC hasn't really had an easy run so far. They also beat Octagon earlier. So lots of good teams they managed to pull through and beat. If they can beat Method Black, things are looking really good for them. ABC, I feel like they really do need a deep run in this tournament. Securing top 3 isn't bad, but top 2 or a first place finish is definitely the position that they want to put themselves in. It's just a matter of actually beating Method Black. And
yeah,
I think Method Black is potentially the best team in the entire world right now. So that's not an easy thing to do, but if they could do it, I think it would definitely make a statement.
I think you can make a claim that you could have said that last year as well, right? And this is like the only team in EU that did stay together for a reason. And all jokes aside, what Sid said about the slump is very important. Headed into this tournament, that's 100% the truth. Headed into this tournament, it's being brought into question. And we're going to start to see, as they do go head-to-head with Method Black, whether or not it is going to be a thing. And the other thing that Sid said, like, in all seriousness, that does need to be addressed is my tie was fantastic. And so is this one. So, Zico, when we do look at the facts, do you think that the slump can be broken here?
He didn't say that.
We did not say that.
This side of the desk agrees. Your previous tie was, This tie, though.
This side of the desk, I liked it.
I do like that one.
I mean,
I like both
on
of them.
it, and
I was going for an animal theme.
I'm gonna be honest.
yeah, I was thinking we see a lot of druids, so it fits the theme with the green.
There's
and,
no
and the
B
bees.
shapeshift form.
I mean, we can give
Not yet.
Rich a lot of flack.
Spoilers?
We can give Rich a lot of flack that maybe he's not the best at World of Warcraft and PvP, but I feel like he definitely is the best dressed of us all.
Thanks for that compliment.
Wasn't that the jacket you were wearing yesterday? I feel like you guys are a little bit biased here.
Teaming up.
Yep.
You're teaming up in the arena too, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's confirmation. Now it has to happen. But
Jumping straight into
holding you
the
accountable.
arena. The question is, will ABC be able to break this slump? 21% of you think that they will. 79% of you think one of the best teams in the entire world, as you just heard Venruki said. Best team in the entire world. They're trying to prove it. They're trying to get to another grand final. If they can, they are going to set themselves up so far ahead of the other teams and get that point lead.
Much like the bees on Rich's tie, basically ABC's biggest threat is a bee sting against Method Black.
So they're playing the Destruction Warlock again. Alec, current world record holder in dampening, 85% here. And he did it on this composition. We'll see if he can break that today.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. Method Black, they're going to be opting to go with the Mana Rift strategy once again. Demon Hunter Death Knight, very durable composition, relies heavily on Raikou consistently finding these Mana Rifts. As you can see, that little purple circle on the ground. When that expires, Askerath is going to lose 8% of his mana and 8% of his health. This is what we've seen from both Method Black and Method Orange consistently in these tournaments this season so far, and it's a really difficult strategy to deal with because you can try to counter pressure, you can try to win in the early game, but with how durable both Death Knights and Demon Hunters are, that is much easier said than done.
Multiple Maledicts incoming towards Raikou as he's forced to duck around the corner. That was a nice move on Alex's part, a bit of a close call, but ultimately nothing to take advantage of moving forward. However, later in the game, when Dampening has ramped up, if they can set up a cool play like that, they definitely are going to be taking down Raikou, and Method Black are realizing this and just respecting the damage, avoiding some of it for now. Now actually looking to get aggressive when I-Beam is available, as I-Beam activates Raikou's Metamorphosis. Whenever he grows wings like this and becomes a gigantic demon, his damaging spell abilities start to heal him as well. Now without that activated, his healing is much lower, so this is where you would want to look to burst a Demon Hunter. Chaos Bolt, a good option to do that, however being disrupted by Swapsy. Asgaroth locked down in crowd control, as well as Swapsy. ABC looking for some pressure off the back of this, but Alec is just unable to get a Chaos Bolt off during that crowd control, and crowd control without Chaos is not going to do too much.
Bash on Chaz, and I feel like out of all the Druids in this tournament so far, Asgaroth has been doing the best job really managing his mana for a long time. You can see that he is a little bit behind Chaz, but that's because he's been having to deal with the mana risk. But with the way he's been holding on to his mana, healing very efficiently, getting off well-timed innervates, and sneaking away for drinks when he can, I have been very impressed with him on Druid so far in this tournament.
All right, let's see if he can keep it up here. It's a lower bracket, best of 5. The loser of this series goes home in 3rd place. Method Black are the current top point earners. So if you're Wildcard Gaming, you're kind of praying for Method Black to have a good run so that nobody else can pass you up. Obviously, the Pumpers with no points, it's unlikely even if they place in first, but they really want to try and get it if they can to qualify for the Spring Finals LAN or accrue points to potentially secure a spot at BlizzCon as we tally up all the points together to qualify a team from the region. There has been good pressure back and forth from both of these teams in Game 1. However, Asgaroth is now significantly behind on mana, and I think mana is going to be the name of the game here when facing a Demon Hunter.
Yeah, Method Black is looking to win 3 cups in a row, and I don't think that's ever happened before in the history of these tournaments, of these cups. So if they can manage to pull it off right here and win this lower bracket game, they will be moving forward to the grand finals to play against the Pumpers and try to get that 3 tournament win streak in a row, which would be a record for them. Asgaroth, low on mana, having a difficult time. Raikou's been doing a good job consistently landing these burns. We need to see Alec try to get offensive. The last time he used his Infernals and his Dark Soul, they were able to get Raikou quite low. They need to try to catch him off guard with the Mortal Coil, potentially a bash from Asgaroth in order to take him down, but I think as long as Method Black plays it safe, they rotate properly, they respect the offensive cooldowns from ABC, it's looking like a winning matchup.
Yeah, and another Azerite trait that Raikou is running here, we've been talking a lot about the Leech, but Burning Soul, so every time Consume Magic is casted, which is effectively the same mechanic as a Purge for a Shaman, it removes a beneficial magic effect. This will also give the Demon Hunter an enormous shield effect, absorbing big damage. So you pair that shield with the Soul Leech healing and some Restoration Druid heal over time effects, and you've got yourself a pretty difficult target to take down. So Raikou is running 3 of those Burning Souls, really focusing on survivability so that he can extend the match, obviously utilizing the Honor Talent Mana Rift to burn Asgaroth out and tap them out in game number 1. ABC have gone with the Warlock Shaman Restoration Druid, the Wizard Cleave composition, to try and deal with this threat, as maybe it's their only option available. Everything else that they've tried has just not worked. We saw some really good pressure earlier on from Alec with his Infernal setup on Raikou, but so far since then, not too much has happened for the side of ABC. Slowly and surely, Method Black build their lead.
Yeah, definitely Asgaroth once again trying to sneak away, but Swapsy sends his ghoul, his pet, over. Asgaroth potentially looking for a Shadow Meld, manages to find it, but he just doesn't have the time to sit down and actually secure that mana that he needs. Alec already getting bursted down to around 50% health at 2% dampening. Asgaroth almost completely out of mana, and as long as Method Black don't completely drop the ball and Raikou chases Asgaroth down, I don't see the win condition here for ABC. They need some sort of one-shot kill, but Alex already used his main offensive cooldowns. It really didn't even dent Method Black, and things are just looking really good. I feel like ABC, they tried out a composition for game number 1 against this Cleave setup, but it is not working out so far.
Important combination of Azerite traits as a Destruction Warlock is that of Crashing Chaos and Flashpoint. Crashing Chaos increasing the damage of your Chaos Bolts during Infernals. Chaos Bolt already really important, but just adding a little bit of extra punch in terms of damage there. And then of course Flashpoint gives you a significant amount of haste when your Immolate deals damage to a target above 80% health. So by getting haste, you increase the speed of your Chaos Bolt. Then during Infernals, the Chaos Bolt does even more damage. It's really fast, and it's a smart combination of Azerites to take as a Destruction Warlock.
Yep, and now we see with Asgarath no mana left, this is where Method Black is going to be looking to get really aggressive on Alec, potentially, as long as they can slow down the drinks. Asgarath, I don't think he has enough time to actually stabilize his team. Alec forced to trade out the Unending Resolve by Asgarath. Just a little bit of time to drink, but Chaz, Raikou, they're able to shut it down. Now Alec, with no Unending Resolve, is going to be a very vulnerable target, but he has the Dark Soul, and Infernal's coming up in around 10 seconds. There is a small opportunity for ABC here, but Method Black, they just have so many answers. Raikou has every defensive. He has the Darkness. Swapsy, every defensive. He has the Anti-Magic Zone if he really needs to. And of course, Chaz has the Iron Bark. Chaz mana not doing super great, but I feel like with the self-healing Method Black has, Chaz is going to be able to hold on to that mana for much longer than ABC really has time.
Infernals have hit the battlefield. This is where Crashing Chaos comes in for Alec, as well as Grimoire of Supremacy, so every Soul Shard he's able to spend increases the damage of his next Chaos Bolt, so he's looking to ramp. So far, his ramp has basically been shut down. He hasn't really been able to boost the damage, but he's still going to go for it, looking to bait some interrupts with that Fear. Gets one Chaos Bolt, gets stunned on the second, and that was a smart decision by Swapsy. If you can not stop 2 in a row, you want to save your interrupt, stop the second one, because one Chaos Bolt's not going to kill you. 2 in a row, that's going to kill you. So right there, Swapsy held his stop for the second one rather than using it on the first one, and now that Dark Soul is all but faded away. A Destruction Warlock, while quite durable and difficult to kill at the top level, can be danced around quite easily, especially when you bring in multiple melee interrupts that the team Method Black have brought in. I would have maybe liked to see Nether Ward from Alex, so he can use Nether Ward to immune himself to both Disrupt and Mind Freeze from a Death Knight and a Demon Hunter, but he's not running it. He's still falling behind. Asgarath is totally tapped out on mana. Method Black have all of the momentum, completely in control of game number 1 as they close it out here. Method Black, utter domination.
And this is kind of what you did predict, Sid, and there are a lot of reasons to make that prediction. I think that is for sure, but actually seeing Alec come in on the Warlock, how do you feel about it, Zico? It's something that we've talked about quite a bit already.
Well, it's really hard to judge what Alec is able to do on that Warlock. I feel like the matchup in general just isn't that great. I mean, the Warlock, sure, later on in Dampening, you can kind of drop those big Infernals and dish out a whole bunch of damage and maybe set up a drink at the back of those, but I also feel like Method Black is the type of team that they just always keep the enemy healer in a chokehold, and that is what consistently gets them these leads. Whenever Raikou and Swapsy are piling onto Alec like this, Chaz is the one harassing Asgarath. Whenever Chaz is going for his drinks, Raikou is the one mana burning and harassing Asgarath. Whenever, even there, right there, Raikou does a cheeky little mana burn at the back of that crowd control just for, you know, extra measures there. And there's not really much that you can do as the Warlock in general when you're put in this situation. And even when they target away Raikou and force him away with damage, Swapsy is always there. Swapsy always has immaculate pet control as well, keeping his ghouls onto the enemy healer. There's just not much that you can do in general. I feel like the mage probably just suits him better, because at least that way he has that additional control, and maybe sometimes they can set up those drinks, or if they could maybe bring in their own Demon Hunter, that could potentially be something as well. I think Jamie does play it.
Yeah, I think that compositions going back and forth is something that we can expect to see when you have a squad like Method Black and a squad like ABC. You're kind of forced into it when you have two teams with the style that they do have. Method Black obviously has a lot of compositions, and then you see the side of ABC. This is a team that loves to counter comp. That's really one of the things that has made them so strong in the past.
Yeah, but this is just one of those compositions that really, I don't feel like has a counter. You have to just try to outplay it if you can. I can't think of a single composition that really beats it. Potentially what the Pumpers have available in the upper bracket, the Warrior with the Death Knight, is a solid answer. They might be able to exploit the fact that Swapsy is on that Death Knight, potentially take him down, but I don't know. It's just really difficult. Like I said, they have the option of just running you out of mana really quickly with the Mana Rift, and then you can't really win early game just because of how much self-healing they have and all the defensive cooldowns they can rotate through. So it's like, you lose in the late game and you can't win in the early game, what are you supposed to do? And that's why I think this composition is just so strong right now. And we see Method Orange finding success with it. We see Method Black finding success with it. And at ABC, they need to try to come up with a different answer because this is not it.
It's funny because when you do look at NA, what we see here right now in this series kind of just show you a little bit of a preview almost of what we expect in NA. Like, we really do expect this composition to potentially win the entire tournament. You talk about Method Orange, one of the teams that also pioneered this. You have Trill, and when this comp is as strong as it is, it's fine to be a 1 Trill pony.
Yeah. We actually saw Method Orange lose last week to the boys, and they were running the Windwalker Death Knight setup, and that's why I'm inclined to believe that these cleave setups that can really pressure a Death Knight actually can win a matchup like that, and that's why I think Method Black could potentially struggle if they beat ABC in the grand finals against the Pumpers, because I feel like they actually have a composition that can deal with this. But one caster against this composition just seems like it's way too exploitable. You sit on them, they can't put out too much damage, can't really counter pressure them, and that's why I feel like ABC, if they don't have a cleave option, I don't know how they're supposed to win this.
I feel like Method Orange also lost a lot of that matchup against the boys because Sea-Doo was playing Resto Shaman and the boys had the Resto Druid as well. So I'm not even sure if that's necessarily the comp that beats it. This comp just looks really, really solid. And like you said, having a caster for sure is very, very exploitable. And we are going to see Asgard. Okay, so ABC are going to mirror them. Yep. We are going to see Jamie on that Demon Hunter. This is a welcome change, but I'm not sure if... I don't know if going a straight-up mirror is the way to go. I feel like Jamie is going to just be worse than Raikou on that Demon Hunter. He's been playing it since the class came out in Legion. Swapsy has been playing Death Knight for such a long period of time. Asgarth and Chess can certainly go toe-to-toe, but when we just look at the players kind of pound for pound, I think Method Black still has the edge in the mirror. They have more experience, but I think this is the best probably that ABC can do.
That's what I was gonna say. It feels like ABC, this isn't necessarily ideal for them, as I feel like Method Black is probably a little bit more practiced with this composition. But ABC, if you have no other answers, I really don't see them winning with Ellie Mage or Warlock Elemental Shaman. I just don't see it happening. So if they have a 5% chance to win in this matchup or in that matchup, and now in a mirror, maybe they have a 20% chance to win. Mathematically, it's still better.
It's your best shot, right? Even though it's a low percentage play, if it's your highest percentage play, it is the best move. And this is something that Ven was kind of outlining, had potential to be locked in before we even saw how the draft was moving. It does seem like one of the only things you can do in a situation like this. And that's why we really do think in North America as well. I think it's funny that you bring up with Sea-Doo it was funny because that was a team where Sea-Doo was the one who needed to adapt, right? Sea-Doo needed to adapt to the meta, and the other two players who are in this composition don't need to adapt. They're already ready. Sea-Doo figures it out, and it takes him a week or two. He really figures out what he wants to be doing. We see so many other teams that are in a different place where pretty much everybody needs to adapt. Everybody's going on to an all. Those are the teams that haven't been able to hang yet. They have not been able to get into these top placings. You look at Method Black, Raikou's been playing Demon Hunter since the beginning of Legion. You look at Swapsy, and he is transcendent. He can play anything. And then you look at Chaz, and he can play pretty much anything, right? So this is like the perfect team right now. When we look at ABC, how long has Jamie been working on this Demon Hunter?
Well, he's been playing it since Legion as well, but for Raikou, he's been playing Mage and Demon Hunter, and that is it. Jamie, on the other hand, he's been playing a lot of different things, and I don't think he's been polishing his Demon Hunter that much. We've seen Jamie, honestly, on everything. He's been playing Windwalker, he's been playing Shaman, and Enhance and Elemental, of course. He's been playing Demon Hunter, so he's been definitely... I think he's been keeping it up, but I just don't think it's going to be at the same standard of Raikou. Raikou, of course, even last season, I think was the highest rated Demon Hunter in all of Europe. So Raikou's definitely been just keeping this pick fresh ever since it came out.
So keep your eyes on Jamie. Jamie, a fantastic player. We expect him to look good, but he may be the one that does fall behind. Let's see if he can get the pressure going and he can riff with some of these riffs.
Yeah, that is going to be the most important thing in this matchup. Can Jamie consistently land these mana riffs? In North America, we saw some of the Demon Hunters that went up against Trill. They just fell a little bit short. Trill was way more advanced, way more practice, and gave his team the edge that way. And I think Raikou should certainly be able to do the same for his team here in this matchup. ABC, if they haven't practiced this composition, I think moving forward, this is definitely something that they need to focus on as it is so strong. I'll have to see what they can get done in game number 1. 1 mana ref secured on Chaz. And with the way these comps play out, it really will come down to mana, in my opinion. Either the Druid will just fall early to a big swap, or the Druid will just be completely out of mana before too much really happens between these DPS.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we've seen the mirror between these two compositions. Is this really the first time that we've seen it? I think that it actually is, at least with the same healers. So we've not yet been able to find out exactly how this plays out. The main game factor is going to be that mana rift, as you already pointed out. So it's going to put the Druids on a clock for sure. But on this big map, Ashmane's Fall, maybe the Druids can sneak away and find drinks to regenerate their mana, extend the game into deep dampening. The main thing that I'm trying to focus on is the difference in terms of build, because even though they're playing the same classes, it does not mean that they're necessarily playing the same talents or the same Azerite traits. And it looks like Chaz has gone for a strategy that's more about kiting. He's actually running Mass Entanglement. I guess he doesn't feel he needs the extra stun on his team, whereas Asgarath is running Bash. Mass Entanglement, if this ends up being a healer race and dampening, could definitely be super effective, but they do lose out on some kill windows from not having that Bash. Asgarath, on the other hand, has decided to run with Thorns, whereas Chaz has decided to run with Overgrowth, and Overgrowth is really expensive. I only expect him to cast that when he has Innervate, which makes it free. Thorns has just added free damage in dampening. I'm really struggling to see why their builds are so different. I mean, they're also Cenarian Ward for Asgarath, whereas Chaz is still running the Soul of the Forest. There's a lot of difference in terms of builds on each side. Asgarath preferring the Cultivation. I guess he's more worried about the Consume Magic from the Demon Hunter, so Consume Magic could remove that Soul of the Forest rejuvenation. So instead, Cultivation, being an undispellable heal over time effect, will allow Asgarath that effect into dampening. I'm very curious to see how it plays out. So far, Chaz's healing output has been a lot more superior. Could also be attributed to damage. This would be the case where I'd love to know how much damage the teams are doing, as that's going to be a big component to victory.
Yep, and you can see Chaz a little bit ahead on mana. His Mass Entanglement build has been allowing him to kite Jamie a little bit more than Asgarath's really been able to get away. Once again, another mana ref here secured. Swapsy and Raikou just running at Asgarath this entire game, whereas Nixie, he's playing a little bit different. He's trying to actually peel Raikou and Swapsy to buy Asgarath some time, but you can see Jamie, look at him. He just can't reach Chaz. Chains of Ice from Swapsy have been able to deny. If we look at mana, Asgarath down to around 35%, whereas Chaz is almost double that, around 80% mana. Things are looking really good for Method Black so far.
You definitely have to practice Mana Rift, especially when you're going to do it out of an ability such as Imprison, because if you time it badly, it goes into Imprison and doesn't burn any mana. If you time it too late, the healer gets to escape it. And Raikou obviously has a lot more practice with it, and it's starting to show here in game number 2, because Asgarath is so much more so behind on mana over Chaz in that regard. And this is just where experience is going to come in the favor of Method Black. And I really think it's always just been experience and practice. ABC rely on counter-comping, trying to take an advantage, but in this case, they have no counter-comp. They have to outskill, they have to outplay their opponents, and if that's what it comes down to, Method Black is not going to be beat.
Yeah, Asgarath almost completely tapped at this point, still trying to run away and hide for his life. Raikou in hot pursuit, as well as Swapsy. Chaz manages to find a re-stealth, and Jamie looking for Chaz in this matchup just seems like, I don't know, it seems a little bit hopeless. Chaz is consistently managing to escape. Chaz also playing the Relentless, which I think is a really great option. It makes it more difficult for Jamie to time those mana rifts. So I just feel like Method Black, they know what to do in this mirror a little bit better than ABC. ABC just doesn't seem as well prepared, as well coordinated. And unfortunately for them, they are falling further and further behind in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's an inevitability at this point. They're going to be slowly overwhelmed and swarmed by Method Black now that Asgarath is completely tapped of that resource mana. And obviously, Raikou is going to look to consume magic to heal over time effects, and Asgarath simply won't have the mana to refresh them back onto his team. He needs to try and sneak away and drink, but he doesn't even have that available right now, with Nixie now getting counter-pressured. Fortunately, Innervate available and activated. He gets a bunch of free healing. Definitely want to make sure when Innervate is up, you drop that Efflorescence, so that giant green circle with the red mushroom in the middle. That is the most expensive instant cast heal a Restoration Druid has. If you're not putting that down when you have Innervate, you're losing out on a lot of value, so Asgarath makes sure to do that. Would have liked to see him him maybe play around it so that he could get the extra healing while he's in this stun instead of abandoning the position. But at the same time, if he doesn't abandon the position, Chaz is looking to drink. They left him alone. I don't think he was able to get too much mana, if any, but it's still just a massive lead at this point. Raikou is just leaps and bounds better than Jamie at this strategy and execution.
Yep, Nixie getting lower and lower, and this is exactly what we see from Method Black. They get Askerath out of mana, now turn their attention onto Nixie, and he just doesn't have the healing to stay alive. He needs to try to maintain his own health, but Icebound Fortitude doesn't seem to be enough as he gets lower and lower. Raikou turning his attention onto Askerath once again. They could get a double kill here, but it's looking more and more likely that Askerath will be the one to fall. Gladiator Safeguard procs, no Iron Bark, no Bark Skin, no Trinket, no nothing as Askerath gets gripped into the middle of the fight. Swapsy and Raikou all over him. Chaz there as well to back him up. Jamie drops out of Darkness. Askerath trying to get back in it, but Jamie dropped it outside of Askerath. He gets no value. They might be able to just kill him before he can utilize that defensive cooldown. That was a huge misplay from Jamie. But even besides that, that just looked completely hopeless for
Pathetic,
ABC.
honestly.
You know, okay, so one of the first things we say is Jamie coming in on that Demon Hunter. Has he had practice on it, or is he just winging it? Now that we did get to take a look at it, Zico, what did it look like?
I mean, I think he's been setting it up and playing it, but it doesn't look like he's been kind of practicing it and preparing it for the tournament. It definitely looks a little bit more like he's kind of winging it for sure. He mistimed a lot of those mana rifts out of the imprisonment, and it takes a little bit of practice to land those, whereas we're going to see even in this clip, Raikou is going to be on point with them. You can see right there, imprisonment, Raikou gets stunned, trinkets, bam, mana rift, Askerath comes out, and then you can see that little purple effect. That means it hit, and it's hard to time those because if you do it too soon, the mana rift connects inside of the imprisonment and then it immunes it, and if you do it too late, well, then the druid just moves out from that little purple radius on the ground. So it takes a few reps to land those. Jamie, I saw him miss, I think 3 at least that game, and it's just small things like that that end up giving Method Black such a massive mana lead towards the end of that one. Even before we saw the all-in actually happen, I think Chaz had like a 70% mana advantage, and I think Swapsy as well on that Death Knight is just dishing out way more damage.
It seems like a small thing, but it actually, in reality, is quite a huge thing, and it can create a huge rift between these players. We're going to be jumping back into the action right after this. saw ultimately them try to take a walk on the demon side, trying to step into the darkness, but that did not look good. The question is, do we play it again? We know that compositionally they're at a little bit of an impasse, if you will. They don't know exactly what to play. They go to the mirror, which we did compliment. It just doesn't look like it has much potential to win, much hope at all with that composition. What do they do, Ven?
I mean, they could. I mean, that did not look good. Let's just be completely honest.
No, it looked bad, yeah.
I mean, this is what you do.
But
you surrender.
Wait. They may have been able to learn some lessons in that game. Maybe if Asgarath goes with Relentless and Jamie's a little bit better with his mana rifts in that matchup and they clean up their strategy, that could give them a better chance, because that may have been their first mirror, but they're going to say, no, Jamie Shadow Priest.
Yeah, after that last game, I feel like Jamie was like, yo, can we play Rogue Mage, maybe?
Does
Rogue
Jamie
Mage?
play Shadow Priest? Apparently, I mean...
He's played it, but let's be real. We saw Change My Mind with Valet, BlizzCon finalist Shadow Priest play this matchup, and they got farmed.
Yeah,
Is Jamie gonna be the X factor here on that Shadow Priest? Because I mean, Asgarath and Alex, sure, they might be as good as Mimpoike and Fried, but
it's really important to bring that up.
I wanted to see the Ellie Mage, honestly. I feel like the Ellie Mage, at least they're on their mains. We've seen them lose that matchup, but I think that would be their closest matchup if they're going to bring it to Tolvaron Arena. Here, instead, they're going to bring in the Shadow Priest. Method Black already dismantled this composition. I think they're happy facing this.
I think their best comp is to have Alec play A, Asgarath play F, and then Jamie play K, because I don't think they're taking Method Black out today.
Wow. You're ruthless, right? You're ruthless.
After that last game?
I mean, it wasn't that close, but ABC, they could have a chance with this matchup. I mean, the one thing we do...
I see what he did.
You had to write it down?
It took me a second, yeah.
Okay, so the one thing ABC has going for them...
That joke was almost as bad as Jamie's darkness. Go ahead.
Oh my God, what is going on? All right, anyways, ABC, the one thing they have going for them on this map is it is Tolvaron. The last time we saw this matchup play out, it was on Hook Point, which is the smallest map in the pool, compared to this, the biggest map in the pool. So that might give Jamie a little bit more freedom to actually try to kite and get away. Potentially, Asgarath can actually go for some drinks. Method Black, they've been doing a really good job making sure the enemy Druid is never able to escape for drinks. So we'll have to see if Asgarath can pull that off. ABC not completely out of it, but I still think this is a really difficult matchup for them.
So the idea that they have here is Asgarath gets life gripped on some of the mana burns. Then you have Asgarath Trinket, the stun, to avoid some of the mana rifts. And then eventually some of them are going to land and you're going to find yourself in a tricky situation. But hopefully you find yourself in that situation late in dampening when the Shadow Priest damage is going to be big enough to kind of take down the self-sustained healing from Swapsy and Raikou and actually dish out that pressure. When Change My Mind played it, they played it very, very well actually. And it was somewhat close, the Hook Point game, but maybe with the addition of Tolvaron, maybe they actually can make something happen here. I think that's at least the theory behind this pick. Personally, though, I do not agree with it whatsoever. I think Jamie is going to look a little bit rough on that Shadow Priest. I think a big reason to why the game against Change My Mind even looked kind of close was because Valet is just such a phenomenal Shadow Priest.
So one of the things that I do want to bring up, I do think it's smart to bring up Valet. Obviously a fantastic Shadow Priest. Why? Because he's a main. We look at the situation that ABC is in, and why do they mirror? They mirror because they are at a loss for comps, which is totally fine. But here, why don't they just go for a main comp? Even if it is a low percentage play, why do you think they go for alts here again, Ben?
Well, I think they probably feel like this is their best chance. Maybe they have played their mains into this matchup and have just never been able to really pull off a victory. So trying to pull out a bit of a sneaky surprise. And earlier I did misspeak. Tolvaron Arena isn't the largest map of the pool, that is Mugambala, but this map provides the most open space for these Wizard Cleave compositions, especially the one ABC is bringing, so it's still an ideal pick for them.
Yeah, strategically, they've set themselves up well, but we've already seen, as in the pre-game's analysis, Valet, a multi-BlizzCon competing Shadow Priest, completely torn to shreds from this composition. And they're going to bring in Jamie Shadow Priest? Is this day one Jamie Shadow Priest? We saw the Demon Hunter. That didn't look good at all. That was like an 80% mana advantage. Raikou was outperforming him in every single regard. So bringing in Jamie on the Shadow Priest after watching Valet get stomped. I'm not sold on that. I really am not sold on that. It would be impressive. I'm not saying that this team doesn't have the potential in the future to be able to pull off victories, but they need a wake-up call. They need a slap across the face. They need to get more compositions, better practice in if they want to ultimately return to being BlizzCon champions, because Method Black are just leaps and bounds ahead.
You'll have to see how this game exactly plays out right now. Jamie trying to get aggressive with his Void Eruption. That's going to give him access to Void Bolt and allow him to do a bit of additional damage. But once he uses that, Raikou and Swapsy, they're going to be trying to shut down some of that damage, really limit the amount of insanity he's able to generate and get him out of that Void form, really slowing down his damage. I think that's smart. If you look at mana, Asgarath already on 60%. So we'll have to see if he can ever sneak away and get a drink. So far, he has been completely unable to, and Raikou turns his attention, once again looking for a Mana Rift. Silence there by Jamie, slows down the Mana Rift. That was nicely done. Raikou, he went over, tried to get the stun into Mana Rift, but Jamie responded with a silence, slowing down Raikou, buying a little bit more time for Asgarath.
All right, let's see what they can do. It's still not looking good here as Raikou keeps securing that mana lead currently, as that is the meta composition. It's kind of play on words there as Demon Hunters have Metamorphosis. All right, whatever. I'll leave the puns to Rich. That's not my job. Jamie doing his best to counter aggress, but just no damage really appearing anywhere on the side of Method Black as they fall further behind. Alec could be the X factor with that Kleptomania, being able to remove all heal over time effects in one spell steal. Maybe with Icy Veins and a huge hit, Alec puts the team on his shoulders, gets a point on the board. But even still, if they manage to do that, they have to win at the map selection of Method Black and the comp advantage, although I don't really think they're going to play any other comp other than this Demon Hunter Death Knight. It's really looking grim for ABC. They definitely had a better performance in this tournament overall. I will say that they have improved, but when they go head-to-head with Method Black, it's night and day.
Yeah, Asgarath now in stealth, a ghoul chasing him down, but I think he's actually might be able to reset his mana here. This is good. Alex build, when looking at it, I feel like it's not necessarily ideal. Jamie is going to be the main target for Method Black in this matchup, and Alec once again is going for that Icelands build. And I think if they're on Jamie, Alec needs to be able to sort of counter pressure them as best he can. I would have much rather have seen the Tunnel of Ice build, so his Frost Bolts are significantly more empowered, giving him more basically making him more of a threat and freeing Jamie up to get a little bit more pressure out. Asgarath already down to 15% mana. Chaz has a massive lead, and this is what we were afraid of. If ABC can't sneak away, can't get the drinks, can't counter pressure, things aren't looking too great for them right now. Asgarath has been trying to sneak away, but Method Black has just been able to deny it every step of the way, just one step ahead of ABC in this matchup.
Yep, always one step ahead. Asgarath now is almost completely tapped on mana. They still have been burning down Chaz's. At least maybe there's an opportunity for ABC to overcome this disadvantage. It's going to be up to Asgarath to sneak away. Is he going to be able to escape Raikou's clutches? I think one mistake that we see often with these mage teams is that they just ignore the Demon Hunter. They just let him run at their Druid and burn him down with mana rifts. I really want to see Alex support Asgarath, get him off of his back, drag him all the way across the map so that he can polymorph him and then maybe sneak away. I like Asgarath's positioning in that corner. That way they can free cast on Raikou. They set themselves up well. Master Spell to try and snipe Chaz's drink attempt here. I don't think it was able to land. Alec ultimately able to stop it with a Cone of Cold. Well done. Mana is actually a lot closer than I thought in this match specifically, and that might be an opportunity for ABC in dampening.
Yeah, definitely potential there, but Chaz might be able to sneak away for a drink, although I don't feel like he really needs to. He can just continue to play aggressive, keep his team in the fight, make sure they're able to get out as much pressure as they need to. Asgarath's still trying to hold on. He's actually throwing out a lot of Solar Wraths, more so than any Druid I've seen in this tournament, really assisting his team with a little bit of casted damage when he can. Raikou now trying to finish off the last little bit of mana Asgarath has available. Chaz throwing in a Maledict onto Jamie, trying to just pressure down ABC a little bit more as we enter dampening, now at 3%. Completely tapped on mana. What is ABC going to do?
I mean, at this point, dispersion. At least that keeps them alive, keeps them in play for a few more moments, but momentum is shifted in complete control for Method Black. They've tapped Asgarath off. Chaz is on babysitting duty. He's never going to let Asgarath drink at this point. His team is in complete control. Void Shift now forced. That's going to switch Jamie's health, but even still unable to completely stabilize, with dampening not even at 6% at this point. 3 members being pressured, and Asgarath tries to escape. Is he able to is the question. No mana regeneration on his part. Alec is trying to stand next to him for a final stand, but there's just no counter aggression, no semblance of damage. They managed to get a polymorph. Maybe Raikou can do it. They burst down, but Death Strike more than enough to keep Swapsy afloat here. And Jamie, he's flailing, he's faltering, and likely to fall soon. There's not much left standing in the way for Method Black to clean sweep ABC and advance to the finals to go head-to-head with the Pumpers. A couple more mana rifts, maybe even just only one, is likely to close this. Jamie's Vampiric Embrace, well-timed there with his Void form, allowing himself to heal his whole team, definitely carrying in that scary moment, buying time for Ironbark to rotate off cooldown, but Asgarath is just working with no mana left in the tank. Dampening gets higher and higher, his healing gets weaker and weaker, and I think it's just an inevitability that Jamie's gonna fall.
I think you're absolutely right. He does have Dispersion coming up very shortly, but Alec actually traded out both of his Ice Blocks as well, so he's definitely a vulnerable target. Method Black, they want to close out this series. So far, it seems like everything is going their way. They want to set up the rematch between them and the Pumpers in the grand finals, and it's looking like they are going to get the rematch that they want. Although Swapsy taking a little bit of pressure right now. Can Asgarath keep his team alive a little bit longer? He does have an Ironbark. Jamie has Dispersion. There's still a little bit of time for them to try to make something happen. But with Jamie interrupted, Asgarath commits the Ironbark. Chaz is just all over him. There is no opportunity for Asgarath to drink in this matchup. Jamie uses the Dispersion, and that is the last line of defense. If Swapsy and Raikou can stay on target, it is over for ABC.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's looking grim. It is looking dark. How is Jamie going to get any sort of counter pressure going? It's just not happening. It's just not there. They tried to pull this composition to counter comp Method Black, and that's ABC's strategy for so long, but they just don't have it. Nice life grip by Jamie, pulling Asgarath out of that mana rift, at least giving him a couple more seconds of mana regeneration to try and scrape together some sort of opportunity for their team, but they still need to get through anti-magic zone. They still need to get through darkness. Chaz is luckily actually out of mana as well. Maybe I would like to maybe see Chaz baited into midfield and they switch to Chaz. It's really up to Raikou. He's got to carry the team in terms of counter aggression. He's got Icy Veins popped. That's boosting his damage quite heavily, but no result off the back end of it. Jamie has Vampiric Embrace. I will say defensive cooldown rotation for ABC looks solid. The mana rift strategy is definitely the most powerful in the current meta, and I don't think this composition can overcome it despite their play here in game number 3. Alex doing his best into dampening. Potentially they can kill the Death Knight. We saw Cervantes dip very low in the series prior if ABC can hold on to that point.
How is Jamie still alive? Asgarath has been out of mana for so long in this matchup. Swapsy now dipping a little bit low. He has to sit in his anti-magic zone. Jamie has Dispersion back and rotated up. Can they pull it off? If Jamie can live a little bit longer, there's a full silence on Chaz. Chaz, no mana left. This would be an absolute miracle. Everyone counted ABC out, but they're still holding on, fighting for dear life. A full stun now onto Jamie, slowing him down. Raikou has the darkness if he really needs it. Jamie trades out the Dispersion off that Maledict, just trying to heal up, help Asgarath out a little bit longer. No Ironbark available. Asgarath still 0 mana. Nice double fear from Jamie as he loads both members up with Vampiric Touch, getting some pressure rolling for his team. There's the Void form, extra damage. Swapsy could be in trouble, but he does have the anti-magic zone is a response, and Jamie, I think it is over for them right here, right now. They managed to hold on, fight for dear life, but it was just not enough to overcome Method Black.
Method Black have the perfect composition right now, and then on top of that, they have the other perfect composition and the other one. They have every single piece that you could want in the current meta. You do have to give it up to ABC trying to figure it out at the end there, and you also have to give it up to Jamie. I mean, that is one of the worst jobs you could have to do for your team, which is alt and then alt again when your back's against the wall completely. And I think on the Shadow Priest, he did a much better job. I wouldn't be surprised if Shadow Priest gets strong if we start seeing Jamie on the Shadow Priest quite a bit.
Yeah, that definitely could be a possibility for ABC, but what I really want to see from ABC going towards next week is I want them to practice this composition that Method Black has available, practice the mirror, because if they can really nail down this composition, Jamie can get a little bit better with his mana rifts, and just as an entire unit, they can really focus on their win conditions. That could definitely make them a force to be reckoned with.
Zico, I think that that's one of the most important things to talk about when you talk about Demon Hunter. Like, a lot of the time when you hear people talking about Demon Hunter, they're like, oh, like, look at this rotation, and that's all they're really thinking about. But there are so many nuances. If you're playing the reverse magic, which was something that Jamie was going for, that's a nuance. If you actually go for the mana rift strategy, which is essentially a must, it's one of the reasons that it's so strong right now, it's not just hitting that ability. There is a lot of setup there. It's not necessarily by itself in a vacuum one of the most difficult things to pull off, but when you have to get the cadence of the matchup, actually be landing them time and time again, that's why we do see little things suffer there. And also, it's so important to be able to actually use the darkness the right way and make sure you're using it at safe moments where you're, well, not necessarily safe moments, but moments where you know you're actually going to hit a target.
Yeah, it's just you have to get the value out of that darkness, of course, and it comes down to landing the mana rifts. But I think the biggest thing is, of course, that you need to pressure the right target, and that is what Raikyu's been doing very, very well. He's been using a lot of his offensive cooldowns on the healer and just putting pressure on that healer while Swapsy's kind of soaking up the damage and applying pressure somewhere else. And then when the healer is out of mana, then we can see Raikyu and Swapsy, of course, mana rift, Method Black, 2 of Empiric touchdown.
Yeah, and it's actually very important to note as well that the mobility that you get on Demon Hunter really does change the mentality of the way that you play that spec. It's not going to line up exactly how other melee does line up, but with that, Method Black going to be able to charge forward for a rematch against the Pumpers. Method Black, one of the strongest teams. You don't expect to see them on the lower side of the bracket, and that's all we've seen so far on broadcast. Friday, we jump in, Method Black, lower bracket. They take out team after team after team, and now they get their rematch. How do we think this one's going to go, Van?
I don't know. I think this is the final boss for Method Black. This is the team that sent them down to the lower bracket, and I feel like if any team has the answer for their composition, it will be the Pumpers. So far, they've been doing a really good job with that Arms Warrior, Death Knight, Mistweaver Monk setup, and I think if they play it right, they might be able to really pressure down Swapsy in this matchup and maybe potentially force Method Black to go back to the Frost Mage, Elemental Shaman, Resto Druid, which we know they have an answer for. I think this matchup could come down to the blind pick.
I think that's very important. It's also, this is like one of those battles of fire and ice. We talk about the two strategies that these teams have. You look at the Pumpers, they are experts at what they do. And right now, what they do seems to be about the best thing that you can do. So they're very favored in what we see right now. This is the first week that we're actually seeing them on broadcast as well in our third cup. And then you look at Method Black. Maybe they don't go as far on being experts at something, but they have so many different options to work with. And these are the two types of teams that we really do see. And now we're going to see which one is the best. Sid, do you have a prediction headed into this one?
I mean, the Pumpers already 3-1 Method Black, but for some reason, if Method Black loses in the upper bracket to a team when they meet in the grand finals, they then just wipe them out. So I'm not sure if the Pumpers are going to be able to do it again, although their performance looked pretty solid. The only real criticism I had of them was their Maledict trinkets. So if they end up facing Method Black's mage compositions, I do want to see them clean up that play. Method Black's Demon Hunter Death Knight is definitely playing at the highest level probably possible right now. So if I was a betting man, I'm going with Method Black, probably 4-2, something along those lines in terms of score.
Yeah, of course, that final one is going to be a best of 7, but you can jump in the chat right now and let us know what you think. Is it going to be history repeating itself, or has Swapsy managed to get that notebook, do the old Batman effect, plan out exactly what he wants to do in the series? Because I have a pretty good feeling that that's probably what happened here. I feel like Method Black has constructed a plan, but you know right now it is their match to try to win. The Pumpers are sitting on that throne right now. They look absolutely insane. They have the comp to do it. Are the Pumpers going to create an upset here in the grand final? We'll find out right after this.